Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
Happy Monday. Hi, everybody. How are you? Hi. Mondays is always a tricky hair day for me. But guys, first, let me know if you can hear me. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Oh, okay. Too zesty. You know what? Somebody said that he needs to redo the barbecue commercial because the lady used the word zesty, and it was a woman. It wasn't him, but I'm gonna mention that to him. But still a great commercial. Thank you, Catalia and Sotherbell. Great moderators. Love my moderators. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday, beginning of the week, honey. We have how many more days? 3 more days before the big debate. Oh, honey, it's gonna be a movie. It's going to be a movie. Debate, the first presidential debate between Trump and Biden of 2024. Honey, that man Biden, he is at Camp David, bunkered down for 7 days. And it's rumors going around that it's going to be a body double. I don't know, honey, but I will be streaming it live right here because we do this show every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern and Monday. So me and the judge will be here on Thursday streaming it live, honey. We're going to start at 8:30 for the pre-show. So last week, the judge was having problems logging on. He's been having problems lately, right? And then you heard me for 30 minutes complaining. And I said, you know what? That is so unprofessional. And it's kind of tacky. And somebody put in the comment section, Dana, why don't you do like random news clips until the judge come on? I'm like, that's a great idea. So I would say for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the show, I'm doing a monologue, but I'm going to be talking about news outside of what I talk with the judge, because I'm trying to curate the content. So if you notice, Monday it's like politics, and then Thursday we try to go into more current events, social issues, or Supreme Court legal stuff, right? And then sometimes we have guests Monday or Thursday. It just depends, right? So I'm trying to curate the content on this channel. So part of that is I need to personally talk to you guys more by myself, right? I need to open up more about who I am. And I am going to start doing that. And a really good friend of mine gave me a great idea on how to do that. But anyway, going forward, because I know it takes the judge a while to log on because he has the Pony Express Wi-Fi, I'm going to bring you my own news that I come across, right? And honey, what we're going to talk about first this evening. Let me tell you, before we get into that, of course, as you can see in the title, we have to talk about the Douglas County judge in Georgia. Honey, that whole state, I'm sorry, is corrupt. And Black people need to be ashamed of yourselves voting these people in. Why we don't ever hear about controversy or drama in the majority white districts? So we're going to talk about that. And again, like I said, we're going to talk about Trump, Biden, and the debate. So anyway, first thing I want to talk about, honey, is AOC. Alexandria Ocasio. That woman is batshit crazy. She is. I am convinced. I wonder, is she still on the? Yes. Yes. She's crazy. How can I make this bigger? Yeah, I'm gonna do it like that. Twisted. Something is wrong with this woman. She did this bizarre low turnout rally in the Bronx this past weekend because she was stumping for Jamal Bowman, honey, because he about to get voted out by another Democrat. Mind you, these House representatives, they only get 2-year terms, and all 437 seats are up for re-election this November. But they have a special election in New York, I think, coming up later this month or next month. So anyway, his ass about to be voted out. So AOC called herself supporting him at a rally. Yes. And let me play this clip. And it's like, honey, when Trump came to the Bronx, oh, he tore it down. He really did. Let me get this out of here. And she thought that she could come in and get that same type of energy. But the difference is, you crazy woman, you're never in the Bronx. There are several people who I know live there saying that they will go in her campaign office or her office that's there. She's never there. And the people that's there say, well, we'll take a message, or, you know, she's not in today. She'll be in whatever. She's never in the Bronx. She stays in DC or traveling around the country or the world. She don't want to be in the Bronx. So you lost that stronghold connection with your base because you MIA. Trump, I don't know who put that Bronx rally together for Trump, but when he came in there, he knows how he knew how to pander to the people in the Bronx, because that's what I call these politicians doing. They're pandering. But I wanted to play the actual clip of this woman shouting. Where is that? Okay, let me play this instead. Let me make this bigger. She goes, Fox News is big mad that we're for the many, not the money. We rallied 1,200 people in the Bronx to take on dark money, get fired up, and send busloads of volunteers to canvass and phone bank. It's called organizing, and it's fun as hell. Girl, when was the last time you was organizing in the Bronx? Mind you, that is how she got elected. She did it old school. She canvassed, phone banks, all that. She knocked door to door. She was out there in the community. But she got in, 5 years ago? 7 years ago? Ever since she stepped foot in DC, she ain't been back to the Bronx. When she hold town halls, it's empty. If it's packed, they cussing her out. Why are you playing Cardi B? Cardi B has not endorsed you. Oh, because Cardi B is from the Bronx, you think that you are entitled to play her music. Okay, why is she taking her hair out? And it's like she said, 1,200 people. Trump had 10,000. Girl, you're doing very little. No, honey, the Bronx can't hear you because they don't want you there. You're doing too much and getting very little response. It was just in my DMs. Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to take this borough back? Are you ready to take it? Okay, so she said, are you ready to take this borough back? Miss Stain, you are still one of the representatives for the borough. There are no Republicans that is in charge of the borough. So take it back from who? And that's how you know Trump did that one rally and she is scared as hell. Because what she's trying to say is, are we ready to take it back from the hoopla of Trump coming in here and outshining everybody? Trump is about to turn the Bronx red. And that's rare because only Staten Island is really only the red borough out of all the 5 boroughs. Are you ready to win this country back? And are you ready to fight for peace and peace I can't understand a word she's saying, girl. You need to turn that music down. First of all, that's a corny song. Second of all, you're shouting nothing. You're talking about Gaza. I think she said something about fight for better housing. Are you ready to win this country back? And are you ready to fight for peace on earth? Oh, peace on earth. How about peace in the Bronx? Because you got a whole bunch of illegals tearing shit up throughout all of the boroughs. So she's talking about peace on earth and peace in Gaza, which, yeah, I'm in support of Gaza. But, honey, I'm in support of where I live at first. She ain't say nothing about the illegals that she loved having bombard the Bronx. That's why she only got 1,200 people there. And Trump had 10,000 because every person that they interviewed that live in the Bronx said, I'm tired of the illegals. AOC is never here. She doesn't do anything. Take this country back from who? The Bronx is blue, honey. You are afraid that it's about to turn red. And it should, for the better. So, yeah, that was a clip. And I'm like, girl, you doing way too much for too little. Way too much. So, I'm sorry, but AOC is batshit crazy. And Jamal Bowman, when you are on the bad side of your own political party, there's nothing you could do, sir. There's nothing you could do because you was another one. You didn't want to even support Black people that live in the Bronx. You wouldn't even utter reparations. Now, all of a sudden, a few of them are uttering reparations. You were pro illegals, right? So AOC is next, honey. She about to be out of there. I just wanted to bring that up. I see the judge. I'm about to bring up the judge, honey, but I think it's time for you people in the Bronx to, look into better representation because AOC and Jamal Bowman ain't it. You need someone that's going to clean up the illegals first, give you better housing, affordable housing, and education. Hi, Judge.
Hi there. Speaking of which, is she getting anything for it? Maybe the problem is she's been in office since 2019. She was a bartender and she's been paid a salary of $155,000 a year for being a congresswoman, but she's worth $29 million now. And congressmen cannot make more than $31,000 a year on outside jobs. So explain how you translate 5 times 155,000 into 29 million, and all you can add on it is 31,000 per year, which makes what? 186,000, say 190,000 a year times 5. 190,000, let's round it up to 200,000. She can get speaking fees times 5. That's $1 million maybe net But the bottom line is she's now worth $29 million. How does that happen? See, that's on her disclosure. So it's probably more than she discloses. So you tell me how somebody 26 years old going up plus 5 years, 31 years old, becomes worth $29 million on a maximum income of less than $190,000 a year. And by the way, you can't do investments in real estate, stock market, anything with a conflict like that. Law, you can't do that kind of thing. So you tell me how.
I thought congressional politicians could do inside trading.
No, they can't.
Not anymore.
No, they never could. That's totally unethical and illegal, because when you get into trading, what the preferred practice is that you have a trustee appointed who basically secretly sells all of your interest and buys commensurately priced replacements, but he can't tell you. That's the way, if you're the president, vice president, it's supposed to be. So you have no conflict that would put you in a situation where you're tempted to pass legislation, vote for something, approve something, sign off on something that gives you an economic advantage. So the maximum under law right now that a congressman can make outside of his congressional salary is $31,000 some odd dollars a year.
Oh, outside of the salary. So if you add the 31 on the salary, then that should be your max.
Yeah. So in other words, you can do speaking engagements, you can do consultation and stuff like that, but whatever you do, the maximum allowable amount is $31,000 plus dollars. So $155,000 is the base salary. So add $31,155,000, you get $186,000 some odd dollars. So you say 5 times, say $190,000. What is that? That is not even adding up to $1 million damn dollars. So the bottom line is how the hell do you wind up getting $29 million worth of net worth after 5 years, getting paid, if you get the max, no more than $186,000 a year?
I don't know. And that's a good question.
In other words, you make 35 times your yearly salary every year is what you put up. That is a little. Like Biden becoming worth almost $70 million, and his net income, or net worth rather, net, not gross, net, he's worth that, but he has never been anything in his entire life since he's been a young man but a public servant getting a civil service check. You tell me how he gets to be worth that and being an honest man.
Right. Thank you, Michael. Miss Bone. I always say Miss Bone. A stripper playing stripper music while on stage working the poles. That sounds on brand. Exactly. And thank you, Felix. I usually say the super chats for later, but these two came in right now. It is a donor racketeering, which is the criminal action of being involved in a racket. Donors engaging in racket politics. Verb, present particular part. Participle? I don't know.
That's participle.
Participle, a racketeer, politician. That is how they get rich. Yeah. All right. So speaking of corruption, and I know I forgot something. I forgot to put this live show on the website, and I am going to do that once we get into this. Let's go. And guys, please share this video on all your social media outlets. Hello to everybody on X. If you have a question or a comment, please send it via super chat. It just makes it easier for me to grab it or to see it. And then you support the platform. Definitely go to Judge Joe Brown website, jjbbbq.com. Order you some barbecue sauce. The link is in the description, and you could get it on Amazon. And as you can see, my Cash App is here on the screen, $ Dana with the dad as well, if you want to send me a Cash App. I wanted you to put the title of your barbecue sauce in your name, but I guess you could do it later. So anyway.
Oh, yeah, jjbbbq.com, Judge Joe Brown barbecue products. Also, I just discovered, and I got a sample of the product. We are now partnered with a winery. So we're doing wine. I just got a shipment of the white, and it hasn't got the final labels on it yet. But
you're gonna have the final labels on it by Thursday, so you go show it.
I doubt if it's gonna be by Thursday. But most of the bottles don't have a label on it at all. They're white and some red's coming, so I'll be able to check that out.
Mail me a bottle, honey, so I could, sell it. Advertise it, promote it.
But it doesn't have a label on it. It's just a bare bottle.
Okay.
Bare bottle.
I still want to drink it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the first topic, right?
What is here?
Judge Christina Peterson arrested in Atlanta. The Atlanta Police Department released this abbreviated video showing Douglas County Probate Court Judge Christina Peterson being arrested on the morning of June 20th. So let me actually share this. I want to play this. So this is how I'm going to do it. I want to talk about what happened in this incident, right? We'll talk about it. And then I want to ask a question. Who is she? Because I want to get into that. But first, let's get into the actual incident. How can I make this bigger? I wanted to make it bigger. Well, I'll just leave it like that. It's probably going to be a commercial. There you go. This sound is going to come on.
No, he just punched me. Everything for no reason. Right, no. Let him fucking go. Let him fucking go. Let him fucking go. Let him go. That's a cop. And that's on me. Shit. No, I didn't. I don't punch niggas. Take me where you want to take me.
I can't take
you.
I don't have any identification.
And I don't care. You don't need the identification. You have locked people up, and you have picked up dead bodies when you don't know who bodies it was, but you picked them up. Take me where you need to take me.
I'm trying to.
No, take me where you need to take me immediately, expeditiously.
And you're preventing
Take me. I could give a damn. Take me where you want to take me.
So how do you want me to take you somewhere expeditiously?
Now. Take me where you want to take me. Take me where you need to go, sir.
I can't.
Harassment.
I can't.
This is harassment.
You don't want to provide a name.
Run me into
you can't provide a name.
The pod, cell, take me where you need to take me. I will get a fingerprint and they can find out who I am.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Please stop playing with me and harassing me.
That's not how it works.
It will work like that. I promise.
I need a name and date of birth.
No.
All right, then we're gonna sit here then.
Freeman, don't play with me. Play with your mama.
What's your first and last name?
Play with somebody else, Freeman. You can Google me and find me anywhere in America.
I mean, what's your name?
Find somebody else.
So I can Google you.
Call somebody.
So are you gonna give me your other
I told
finger
him
or
to
not?
call and to ask him who I was.
Are you gonna give me your finger
I
or
told
not?
him to call. I said no.
Okay.
Because
Appreciate
that's
For what? I wasn't cuffed. I wasn't when you needed to. Shut the fuck up. You look like a nigga who was trying to get something before and I never let him relax. Shut the fuck up. And stop touching me. Yeah, stop touching me. Get the fuck off of me. Stop touching. I got it. I can walk on my own. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I got it. I can walk on my own. Don't touch me.
Now, which one are you saying is too tight, ma'am? Because it's moving. This one?
This one?
Okay. Actually, I can't get it from here. How does that feel? You got small wrists, so
I know I do. I don't supposed to be in handcuffs.
You said you shouldn't be in handcuffs? Okay.
But when people... So, what's my charges now? You said I was charged with a felony? What's the felony? You didn't tell me that?
Yeah, misdemeanor.
What's that?
This is the...
How many charges is it, sir? Because they went from 1 to...
I told you, obstruction and simple battery.
Obstruction, you said felony obstruction?
Yeah.
What is felony obstruction?
It's the same thing I just said. You struck the officer. Come on.
All right, so
They've been watching too many episodes of Atlanta Housewives with all of that stupid crap going on between the actresses in the series.
yes.
And actresses.
So you, as a judge for many decades, you're retired now. You know, she's a probate judge. I don't know exactly.
Probate. That means
probate.
Wills, estates, guardianships, that kind of thing, commitments, involuntary commitments, that kind of thing. She handles stuff when folk die, that sort of thing. She's kind of young to be a probate judge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Usually probate judges are lawyers who have had a lot of wills and things like that they've handled because they've been doing it a long time, and a lot of their clients are now dead and deceased, so they've been through the ropes when it comes to what happens when you die. Probate means, like, for example, if you die and there's a will, the will has to be put in probate. Who gets what officially? If there's no will and it's an intestate situation, then the probate court has to determine who gets what share of the decedent's estate or bank accounts or insurance policies. That's
I want to go back.
Their name change. Now, by the way, when I first started practicing law,
wait, before we get into that, I want to finish out with her incident because I'm gonna get into who she is and her resume. So just tape it out for a second. Just tape it out for a second. I want to highlight the response that her attorney did a press conference. She didn't speak, but the woman in question of how I guess this whole debacle started, she spoke. And she was basically saying that the lady, the judge, was defending her. But I'm just going to play the first 4 minutes because now I call it niggasplaining, but.
All right. I think we got everybody here. All right, good afternoon. My name is Marvin Arrington Jr. I'm the attorney representing Christina Peterson. I want to thank you all for being here today. As the investigation continues to unfold and more facts come to light, we believe that Judge Christina Peterson will be completely exonerated of these charges. At least 2 eyewitnesses have stated that Judge Christina Peterson will only try to help Ms. Love, who was being brutally and viciously attacked by a man outside of the Red Martini nightclub. Miss Kelly and Miss Love. Miss Kelly is the friend of Miss Love, the woman that was attacked. They simply want to know why the man was not arrested and why was Judge Peterson arrested for simply trying to be a good Samaritan and help a woman that was in distress. We are anxious to see the video from Red Martini nightclub and other nearby businesses, as well as footage from the police body cameras. Based on the eyewitness testimony and the female victim, we believe the videos will confirm that Judge Peterson should not have been arrested. We look forward to her complete exoneration and dismissal of these charges. We call on the Atlanta Police Department to arrest the man that was seen in the video assaulting Ms. Love viciously and violently. We call for the immediate release of any and all body camera footage from this incident and any other footage obtained by the police. We call on the Atlanta Police Department to dismiss these charges against Judge Peterson. This is living proof of no good deed goes unpunished. The idea that a good Samaritan who was helping a woman that was being viciously attacked could be arrested, and the man who was viciously attacking the woman could not.
Oh, bullshit.
Did not get arrested, speaks to other issues that will be addressed at a later time. We call on District Attorney Fonnie Willis to personally review this matter and to dismiss these frivolous charges. At this time, I'm going to ask Miss Kelly, who is the friend of Miss Love, the lady that was being.
All right. I don't.
That's so much bullshit. Doesn't even state the law. See, first off, the cop can't arrest for a misdemeanor unless it occurs in his presence. And what ultimately developed is when the cop got there, he didn't see the male in question do anything, but he did see the women, and he did see the judge or the probate judge do what allegedly happened. She didn't leave it. She started talking about how important she was instead of trying to diffuse the situation. And she wound up throwing blows or exchanging blows with the officer who was attempting to cuff her, which is a matter of policy, isolate everybody, render them incapable of carrying out physical force because the officer doesn't know who she is, doesn't care. He's trying to maintain public peace, dignity, and order. Now, if the parties had decided that they wanted to do citizens arrest on themselves, they could do that. But generally the policy is both of you go downtown or nobody goes downtown. And if you want something done, then go down and see an appropriate judge and swear out a warrant. If you can convince the judge that there is probable cause that a misdemeanor was committed against you. Nobody did that, and they decided to go forward and arrogantly disregard what the hell the law was. So this lawyer obviously does not know what the law is in his state by cause of what he says relative to the disregard of the requirement, which is a constitutional requirement for Georgia and most other states, and it has been articulated by the U.S. Supreme Court. An officer has to physically observe the commission of a misdemeanor in order to effectuate arrest. If there is a felony, the officer need only have reasonable suspicion that the suspect committed the felony. But this is not a felony. It's simply a brawl, maybe a domestic brawl, but it's still a misdemeanor. So there was no grounds for the officer to arrest the guy. So all of this chatter about what he's doing is bullshit because there was no warrant, no personal observation. Now, as far as the judge doing this, hell, in my career, I've seen a judge who detested and despised a certain idiot who was a city attorney throw 5 volumes, thick volumes of Tennessee codes annotated at him, including jumping over the front of his bench, getting down low and throwing them under the table, and then picking up a whole thick sheath of file folders and chasing him from the 3rd floor down to the 1st floor, out the 1st floor and down 2 blocks, chunking file jackets like they were Frisbees with a clerk trotting along behind, picking the files up, and the judge saying, "Come back, you son of a bitch, I'm going to kick your ass." I saw another one. Let's see, I was the public defender, the chief public defender then. This is back in the mid-70s. I got off the elevator on the 6th floor of the old city court building, and a judge said, "Lawyer Brown, you got $50 in your pocket, son, I can borrow?" I said, "Sure, Your Honor. What for?" "I'm going to bust this son of a bitch right in his jaw, and I need money for a bond." Or I saw one, "Your Honor, defense takes strong issue with what the coach's doing." "Well, Lawyer Thompson, how strong an issue do you take? Is it serious?" "So, yes, Your Honor, it's very serious." He said, "Well, perhaps we can meet outside of Benetton's," which was a pub that is no longer there because they built the new Justice Center. And they got out there, took the coats and ties off, and duked it out for 4 or 5 minutes. They were old guys, and we broke it up so they didn't have a heart attack, and they bought everybody beer and shook hands. So it's not that this doesn't happen. It's just she had no.
She wasn't fighting another judge.
Yeah, that's right, or a lawyer, or whatever it may be. But the bottom line is she's out on the street, and she apparently seems to think she's above it all. So instead of identifying herself, "My name is so-and-so, I'm a judge, and I was attempting to carry out my oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of this state and separate these parties, officer." So what winds up happening is instead she won't even tell them who she is. So they don't know what the devil it is. All they've got is an unruly woman who was out there acting crazy and hit the officers, which is what's on the report that's on NCIC. So anyway, she doesn't seem to have stopped that. She just, in other words, it was, you don't do things that way.
Right. Well, she had, so this is a recent incident that happened on June 20th. However, she was already under investigation, right? Earlier this year. It says that wait, what is this? Oh, the panel, what is it? The Georgia State
ethics panel, and I bet she didn't tell her identity because she didn't want that panel to hear about it.
That's probably why.
And by the way, the attitude displayed and what this lawyer displayed is, he's going to Fannie, and that's the problem with Fannie. You saw Fannie's effed up attitude when she took the stand to give testimony with her snake charming head and hand on one hip, talking about what she was going to do, and wrecked her Fifth Amendment circumstances. So it's not surprising that this kind of thing is spread in Atlanta.
So she was already under investigation for systemic incompetence.
Yeah, it figures, and that shows.
So let me read this. It says the first-time judge has also been the subject of several Fox 5 I-Team investigations since she took office in late 2020. A 3-member panel of the Judicial Qualifications Commission decided Peterson is guilty of systemic incompetence because she ignored courthouse rules, abused courthouse personnel, made inappropriate posts on social media, and in repeated cases failed to do her job. So
yeah, I can see that. It's like her attitude displays a propensity to do that kind of thing. We're not talking about propensity to commit a crime. Basically, your lack of judicial temperament and fitness for the bench. I already, before you told me that, unaware of that, said she's too young for the position of probate judge, which means she hasn't been around long enough to know what it's about when you have people turning up dead and loved ones trying to play vulture and swoop in on the belongings. Never talk.
Let me play this clip. Let me play this clip because it gives a background of her previous investigation case.
Unanimous recommendation from a hearing panel investigating Douglas County probate judge Christina Peterson.
I'm Courtney Bland. The first-time judge has also been the subject of several Fox 5 I-Team investigations. Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis says the extraordinary ruling follows years of questionable decisions from this judge. Randy.
Like Courtney and Russ, Judge Peterson became a magnet of controversy from the moment she was sworn in to what is typically a non-controversial job. The hearing panel for the Judicial Qualifications Commission decided the probate judge's actions prove she is guilty of, quote, systemic incompetence.
Did you want to take a break?
Christina Peterson did not do herself any favors during 7 days of hearings beginning last September. The JQC hearing panel's report criticized her for not taking any responsibility for the 30 counts of judicial misconduct lodged against her.
I just don't have a memories of my dad. I don't know who he is.
The most troubling, wrote the panel, Peterson's decision to jail this woman for trying to amend her marriage certificate to include the real name of her recently discovered father.
Did you go to this hearing with any idea that you may be going to jail?
No.
PJ Skelton served 2 days of a 20-day jail sentence for contempt before her husband could pay a $500 fine. Such a hasty and shockingly disproportionate reaction is the hallmark of Peterson's intemperance, wrote the panel. The report criticized Peterson's attempt at this meeting to get her HOA board to settle a lawsuit she had filed, even though she knew the HOA was represented by an attorney. Peterson's attempts to avoid responsibility for these clear violations bordered on the farcical, severely eroding her credibility with the hearing panel.
Stop a second. Stop a second.
And eventually
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Give me a second. I know.
Okay, hold on. Here's why I want you to stop it. The judge in the rap contest, what did he have? He did the same ex parte bullshit by meeting with somebody without notifying defense counsel about it. All right. The attitude, what she's going to deal with that we just got through on the first count, locking this woman up, is so typical of what wound up happening again with the judge on the rap thing, where he gave this lawyer 20 days for simply making a demand of why did you not tell us, and then refusing to break his attorney-client privilege with a third party and disclose what he had learned during the investigation. Additionally, you've got this other thing before we go on, is like what you see with Fannie Willis just disregarding protocols in the law down there in Fulton County. It seems this kind of disregard for the law, ethics, morality, and the fiduciary responsibility that such officials have to the public is just endemic. So let's go on. That's why I said stop it, just to make it in.
I know. You just got to give me a second and stop it.
Okay, that's why
Peterson ignored their orders and held a wedding after hours, allowing people inside without deputies present. She once hit a panic button when a deputy was late escorting her to court, causing a temporary panic among security. And when county staff criticize her actions, it quickly triggers allegations of obstructionism or even racism. These communications and actions reveal a judge who publicly vilifies colleagues, is quick to threaten them with unnecessary legal action, and generally projects a spiteful and vainglorious persona.
I'm the first African-American female and Democrat. Yes. I was never celebrated or congratulated. The first, on my day of swearing in, I was sworn in by Judge Emerson. I received my first JQC complaint.
Peterson's main defense was her inexperience as a judge, a problem she promised has been addressed through additional training.
Stop. If you aren't very experienced and knowledgeable in the law. What the hell is wrong with you trying to be a judge to adjudicate the law that you know nothing about? That is a travesty. That is a selfish bullshit move that I am unalterably opposed to, because I have seen the extremely vile consequences of that over the last 50 years, where somebody is presiding over a courtroom and they happen to be the biggest rookie in the damn courtroom. That is pathetic. And that's just the height of arrogance, and everybody involved in this was black. So how did it become a matter of racism? And nobody celebrated me because I was the sister.
Do you see the pattern of them using race?
It's the whole damn thing in Atlanta and in Fulton County, Cobb County, DeKalb County, maybe not so much in Cobb County, but who the hell does anybody black have to answer to that isn't black? That is the most pathetic excuse you can come up with for incompetence. And I'm listening to the charges, and I can say, I saw that just by the way she was interacting with the police. You damn fool. You get in there, you're already in trouble. And when the police come, you're trying to hide what's going on, which you have a duty to disclose as an officer of the state. As a sworn judicial officer, you were supposed to self-report. You didn't. And the bottom line is you got caught up and your damn fool ass got arrested and embarrassed, and you could have stopped it on the front end. Officer, I am a judge, and I observed this going on, and I attempted to follow my oath to uphold the laws of this state. I'm sorry.
She did not have any decorum. Let me play this last minute.
But the panel was not buying it. The report also cited multiple examples of failure to actually do her job, needlessly delaying petitions before her office. The hearing panel said Peterson was guilty of systemic incompetence. Judges are expected to act in a manner that promoted the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. Respondent has shown that she cannot or will not do so, and so she must go.
Peterson has 20 business days to file exceptions to this report with the Georgia Supreme Court. They're the ones who will ultimately decide whether to follow the recommendation to remove her from office. Her attorney, Lester Tate, told me they disagree with the recommendation and will take this to, quote, the next level. And by the way, remember the HOA situation? Yeah. Well, they got a judgment against her, and they're now garnishing her judicial wages, $43,000.
Interesting. And you told us before that she was making a considerable amount of money for a probate judge. She still is doing that. She still has the job. Right?
Still the paycheck and still in office. It'll take maybe a month or two before the Supreme Court will rule on this. There's an election next month. She has opposition.
Yeah, well, there's such a long list of complaints against her. This is a big development, Randy.
It's extraordinary, Courtney. Usually this does not happen with the JQC.
It's almost.
I'm sure we'll keep following it.
Let me explain what this stuff is about. As the probate court judge, she has a unique fiduciary responsibility to the citizens and to the jurisdiction she represents, all right? Mm-hmm. So when there is an award of funds or surplus something, it goes to the judge for dispensation on an equitable and just basis to those parties that are entitled to it. This damn fool, instead of doing that, she's been pocketing the money herself. So she's been ramping up her salary from where it's supposed to be to where it is more than the Chief Justice of the Georgia Supreme Court is getting. And this is a rookie who doesn't know what the hell she's up to. She's crying. She needs to be slapped in jail, or maybe put on probation for the criminal offense. And damn it, you haven't learned your lesson when you think that this position belongs to you and not you administering the position for the people. This is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. This chick is collecting almost $290,000 a year because she is she is enriching herself with these funds she has access to that belong to litigants, families, and or the people of the state and the county. And she's been taking them because she's got the discretion. Her predecessor, who had been in the position for years, was making $120-some thousand a year. She's making $290,000 because she's stealing money that belongs to other people. She has discretion and the control over it, but she exercises that by tendering it to herself. This woman is a disgrace, and I'm not surprised that she has gotten into this mess. I'm not talking about a criminal thing of which you are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm talking about her general deportment, behavior, and demonstrated incompetence to perform the job.
So Douglas County in Georgia, right? It says in 2022, the median household income, $76,930. Median property value, $227,800 and $800,000. 11.6% poverty rate. And let's go to the demographics, right? Where is it? Jeez, let's scroll all the way down. So Black or African American makes up 48%, white non-Hispanic 35%.
Where's the white supremacy?
Right. Also,
bullshit. See, that's the crutch. I'm a sister and they victimizing me. Bullshit, idiot. You're fucked up. You ain't shit. And you not only need to be convicted, well, I'll put it this way, beyond a reasonable doubt if they can get that. But your ass sure as hell shouldn't sit on the bench.
2 of the U.S. senators are Democrats, Raphael Warnock, that black fool, and
goddamn idiot. He needs to have his ass jacked up in some kind of way, turned out of office. Right across the street from former Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s church is one of the worst hellholes you can find, with all of these impoverished, homeless people living in a garbage dump situation. And this son of a bitch walks out the door of his church every damn Sunday to sit there and see off his parishioners and try to fancy them out of extra money in the collection plate where he's playing pulpit pimp, and he doesn't do a damn thing about this hellhole right across the street, not even a broad street from the front door to his church.
Right. So just real quick, a little bit of her qualifications, her background, her education, or whatever. It says in 2021, Peterson was subject to an investigation by the Georgia Judicial Qualifications Commission, JQC, for allegations of improperly jailing a citizen without due process.
That's the one you just heard about.
Right.
This woman came in when here's what happened. They didn't even elaborate on it. It makes it even worse. What wound up happening is, in the family she comes from, she found out who her true daddy was. All right? She didn't know. So when she found out, she wanted to modify her her marriage certificate and birth certificate. So she filed innocently in this fool's court to get the change, which is what probate court judges do. So instead of finding out what the story was, this damn fool didn't care and locked this woman up for 2 days out of quite a bit longer she had sentenced this woman to. And it was just an absolute travesty. The woman came in there to get justice and equity and wound up getting locked up by a bitch.
Right. It says in 2022, new allegations emerged before the JQC, this time involving improper ex parte communications, as well as the backdating of timestamps on files. Peterson earned a JD from the University of Georgia School of Law. She was admitted to the State Bar of Georgia in 2013.
She's a rookie.
I think she's up for re-election. That's coming up either this month or next month, but I think she needs to be
She needs to get her ass out of there.
Yeah. Why do you keep voting these? I don't understand. Listen, she just needs to be
a jackass in who is corrupting the law, justice, and equity where you live. Turn her ass out. That was one of the most pathetic presentations I've heard in a long time.
Right.
But what the hell is going on down there? We got Fannie, We've got Wade. We've got this judge with the bald head in the rap artist trial coming up with the ex parte communications and getting mad when somebody calls him to count on it.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is the thing, real quick, before we move on to the Trump thing.
By the way,
wait, no, wait.
What just this? One last comment.
On what?
Since it's been brought up before, this is an indication as to how this stuff's going to wash out with Fannie and Wade and the rest. I keep telling people, as officers of a court, as people with a fiduciary responsibility, this is what happens when you run afoul of ethics considerations.
I wanted to bring this up. That has to do with this. You have Fannie, you have this judge, Christine Peterson, Marilyn Mosby, the woman, Letitia James,
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I'm tired of stop saying that's so annoying when you say her name. Well, she hasn't been brought up on any criminal charges. I'm talking about people who have criminal, and even Letitia James, not yet, have not been brought up on criminal charges.
Let me tell you where she
needs. Wait, 1 second. Let me finish. Alvin Braggs, he's being investigated with the congressional committee, rightfully so. And which is why he's not going to prosecute the anti-Israel protesters, right? But he's under investigation. My point I'm trying to make here, you have these public
don't forget Fox, the state attorney
Fox, yes,
Illinois, who is in league with Beetlejuice. Right.
And then we have the other mayor out of that small town, Tiffany Hayward. So
that is just ridiculous.
So the point that
don't forget Mosley up in Baltimore.
I said that. So just listen and let me finish. The point I'm trying to make here is you have a lot of these prominent people in these positions of power, particularly in the legal system, who is Black, right? And they're all corrupt in some manners, or in a lot of ways, but they always want to fall back on, oh, it's a race thing or whatever. So you're starting to see a pattern. Now, I'm not saying that white people in these same positions aren't corrupt, because they are, and it has been reported. It's just that they don't say, "Oh, I'm white, and and I come from a poor white background. I'm not getting a support." Why is it that Black people are always using race, and these are Black people in these high power positions? That's a problem.
You got buzzard bait Biden, and you've got humping hyena Harris. But back to Beetlejuice, she did one of the most dangerous things that is impacting this whole country. You know, all these reports of Glock switches that are turning Glocks by replacing the slide back plate with the switch that converts them into full auto, let alone the fact that they're uncontrollable after the first shot. When this Beetlejuice, Lori Lightfoot, decided she was going to get a play to cozen up to some of the Hispanic residents. She was going to give money to the street folk in the Hispanic communities. In her ignorance, she wound up financing Hispanic street gangs. So they were able to, according to this, the allegations, pull off a robbery of some arms-laden boxcars in the IC rail yard and steal a bunch of very serious military-grade hardware, including a shipment for experimental purposes of these Glock switches, which is how they got into circulation, since nobody uses them ordinarily. And also, it has been impermissible for a new device that can make, manufacture, or convert into a full automatic weapon, which means is you pull the trigger one time and it keeps firing until you let go. That has been illegal for anything since 1986. So she's responsible, allegedly, for this entire shipment of Glock switches to get into the distribution all through the United States of America, thanks to her ignorance in trying to steal a political gauge on somebody and financing a street gang situation.
Well, there will be some people, because there's a couple of people that were in the Twitter space we did last week that disagree with you about Lightfoot, saying that she has done some good things for and my thing is, I don't know if they named them. I don't know. I don't remember.
It was that woman from Chicago Red, name
So,
was.
I think
she seems a nice enough woman.
Why do you keep interrupting me when I'm talking?
It's back and forth repartee.
It's not. I'm trying to say something to get my statement out. You're cutting in. So I think she said something as far as the education, but Lori Lightfoot, because I remember when she was running for mayor, she had a plan for every group except for Black people in Chicago. Because I went to her website. She had a plan definitely for the LGBTQ. She had a plan for immigrants. She had a plan for, I think, the Irish, the Latin, the Hispanics. It was nothing for Black people. And also, I do recall no Black person came to her when she was running for mayor agenda. But every other group, especially the LGBTQ, said, this is our agenda, these are our demands, and this is what needs to be done. And everything that they put on that list, and when they helped her get elected, she delivered it to them. So I don't see tell me exactly what that mayor has specifically done for the Black citizens of Chicago.
Zero. What happened is there had been a series of runoffs in Chicago. In the election she got selected in was the lowest voting count in actual number of votes since somewhere around 1929 in Chicago. In other words, more than 80 years. So she got elected. She got elected with the help of the Rainbow Cult, and she got in with her Bigfoot wife, and they did their thing. And that was most unwise for her to attempt to cozen favor with the Hispanic community by doling out funds that she had that were discretionary funds, but she, in her ignorance, doled them out to street gangs. So we have these Glock switches in circulation throughout the United States that the far left are using to terrify everybody. Oh my God, they got these Glock switches and make them into machine guns, and now we're all going to get gunned down in the streets. Okay, fine. No, that's not likely to happen. Frankly, I prefer that they use them, which means if they aren't very accurate for the first shot, which most of them aren't since they don't know how to shoot. And if you're 10 yards away, you're in good shape, because on the second round with the full auto burst, which will go out in less than a second, most of it's going to go up in the air. So it is what it is.
So I want to swing back to Georgia with Trump, because we got to get into that. I want to get into the CNN thing, but you wanted to briefly touch on the Trump campaign is not doing a good job.
No, it's not.
In Georgia.
He needs to go down there or send somebody down there and recruit some people that are really for him, because the people that are working on his behalf, they're working hard, but Kemp is the governor, and he's not really a Trump man, and he's not doing what he ought to do to promote Trump's candidacy. So you've got all of these people that want to go with him, but you can't put in the package that will promote not only those who are already committed, but use what you could to bring in those who are on the margin, who say, I'm tired of what I've been looking at. Convince me. And the Trump campaign in Georgia is not very effective. So somebody needs to make some adjustments before.
Well, okay, so what is the proof? Like, what are they? Because Pamela was saying something about the commercials.
They're lousy.
Georgia. So what is it that they're not doing?
Well, what I saw on some of them that I took a look at, they appeal to the Republican Party of 15, 20 years ago, say in the McCain era, in the Romney era, a little bit after that, but they do not appeal to the new mega influenced Republican Party. You've got the far left ideologue in his old age, Biden, and then you've got deal maker Trump, who's not an ideologue. He is a person that makes deals, but they're not capitalizing on that. Hey, this man doesn't have an ideological axe in this situation. He's trying to make the best deal for America, the best bargains for the country, dealing with the circumstances realistically. Nobody is pushing that. They're giving these old-time, antiquated Republican-style commercials that are falling flat in terms of generating new support.
Well, Trump campaign is falling flat on how they're pandering to Black voters as well, because he needs to do a redo of, of Detroit. So I think when they plan on going to Chicago, because I spoke to P. Ray about that, she mentioned that in the space. I said, well, y'all need to make sure that is way better than what they put together in Detroit.
Well, yeah, but it isn't. It's too much Atlanta housewife flavor, and it's too much old time.
You talking about Georgia? You talking about Georgia?
I'm talking about Georgia. It's too much Atlanta housewife flavor, and that misses the point, because a lot of ordinary, normal Georgians just don't buy that. And it also goes, like I said, to old-time Republicanism, which is not the issue here. That is not the mega base. That is not the transitory Black base that is wanting to move from what they look at as a dead end right now to something more viable.
All right. So, of course, the debate is this Tuesday. I think it wasn't nothing recent, but it was a couple of weeks ago, I think a month ago, when they first announced this debate. Trump was like, he wants Biden to take a drug test, and he was like, and I'll take one too. I guess he wants the people to know that, you see how they're drugging him with drugs so that he could be coherent. But what is this? Okay, yeah. So recently, Trump press secretary rips into CNN for cutting her mic off mid-interview, for ripping into colleagues Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, and how it is concerning for Donald Trump upcoming debate. So this is Trump secretary on CNN, and she alluded to saying something about Jake Tapper, Tapper. And the colleague here cuts her mic off saying, don't talk about my colleague. So I just want to see if I can play this clip real quick.
We can't hear that.
Okay, now you're telling me you can't hear it.
I thought I was waiting for it to start. Then
no, it was starting. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, I need a new broadcaster, because it knocks my sound. Let me see something real quick. Testing 1 2. Okay, I just need a new broadcaster. All right, let me share it again.
What do you expect?
All right, wait a minute.
Heard that.
You did? Okay, good. Sorry, guys.
What do you expect?
What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it would take someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently,
we're going to stop this interview if you're going to keep
President
attacking my
Trump
colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf,
and
I
I
am
will do
willing to
that.
have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to
the
come back out to the
expectation
panel.
for-
Caroline,
the
thank you very much for your
expectation
time. You are welcome to
Oh,
come back.
that's so much bullshit. That's an embarrassment to the long tradition of
Trump
American
will
press.
have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this.
Oh, you're a bullshit artist, lady. You're an embarrassment to the press corps.
Well, first of all, it's so it takes.
I'm trying to pause it. So if they're acting like this, and people are saying, listen, someone like is going around on X now saying that he shouldn't even debate because it's going to be biased. It's not going to be fair.
And you know what? Good thing, because I'm already pissed off listening to this little witch here do this protective stuff of her delicate little sissified colleagues on CNN, the Crying Negro Network. So it's interesting that she has to protect them. And what's going to happen is it pisses me off, and other people that have heard this have been pissed off. So when they do their thing trying to stack the deck for their home team instead of having press neutrality, then it's going to piss people off that'll get them very committed to voting for Donald Trump. Never. And I've been through elections while I was alive, Harry Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama.
Yes.
And I've never, ever heard this except when you get to Donald Trump, where the press is taking editorial sides when they talk. So it strikes me as an intelligent person. I think I'm intelligent. Why the hell are they so afraid of him? I don't see anything he's done other than stopping the bullshit. So it makes me more committed when I hear these things to a perspective that they're trying to pull a fast one off on the American public because they desperately want to get in so they can lock the public, lock the government, lock the country into this rainbow bullshit that they're trying to push as a cult all across the nation, in elementary schools, junior highs, middle schools, high schools, colleges, in the foyers of state and local government, and in the governmental foyers of the United States of America. It's a disgrace. You can't have Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, or any other thing as an official doctrine of the United States. But now you have rainbow cult.
So staying on Trump, right? I want to go to the Supreme Court because now everyone is still on pins and needles for the immunity case. So what is
that? Look,
I wanted to share this one.
Look, why are they so anxious to get him convicted on some bullshit? Why don't they just see what the hell happens? And if the American public wants to put him in, then they put him in.
Right. So Supreme Court to hear Trump's bid for criminal immunity. This is back in April, right? So in a final argument scheduled for his 2023-2024 term, the Supreme Court will hear argument on Thursday. That was back in April. And former President Donald Trump's historic bid for criminal immunity. The question before the justices is whether Trump can be tried on criminal charges that he conspired to overturn the results of the 2020 election. The court's answer will determine not only whether Trump's trial in Washington, D.C. before the U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, originally scheduled for March 1st, but now on hold, can go forward, but also whether the former president's trials in Florida and Georgia can proceed. So people are, remember last week when we talk about Attorney General Eric Holder, and he's like, you know,
why didn't the son of a bitch go after goddamn
Right.
Obama boy when
We
there were
spoke about
clear
that.
violations?
We spoke about that.
Violated a direct court order enjoining him from killing an American citizen who had broken no American laws and killing the man's son who was an American citizen, not naturalized, but born in Detroit, both of them. And
Right.
Obama
So,
disregarded the injunction and killed him anyway.
so now we have Trump's and this immunity. So what are your thoughts on, you know, what
Let me break this down before we go any further. The issue here is not what the press is putting out. The issue is this: how many people have been brought to trial and been found not guilty of what they're indicted for? A lot of accusations can't be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. But this person, who is Chief Executive Officer of the United States, has probable cause to allege that the election results were fraudulent. Now, it's supposed to be a crime now to question what somebody comes up with as an official statement. When the hell did it become a crime in America to question what the government says? See, that's what this is all about. Not whether he conspired to overthrow the election. He didn't. He was questioning the damn thing. And what he told Pence, that's supposed to be the primary evidence of the crime, to not okay the electoral count. There is an act of Congress passed in 1877 that's still good law. As a matter of fact, it was the next item on the congressional agenda, January 6, 2021, the next item, and Pelosi tabled it when the confusion started. What is that? The the Confidence in Election Act of 1877. And what it says is the Vice President of the United States shall not certify the Electoral College count if there is widespread distrust of the election outcome. He shall instead appoint a 15-man committee, 5 from the House, 5 from the Senate, 5 from the Supreme Court, who shall meet and hold an independent audit of the election results, taking a minimum of 10 days of such time thereafter as is reasonably necessary to reassure the American public with the validity of the outcome. That is exactly what he was telling Pence to do. A, follow the damn law. B, do your duty. It was not conspiring to overthrow a goddamn thing. It was to ensure that the law was followed, because there certainly were a large number of questions by a very significant percentage of the American voting public, in spite of what bullshit artists, Associated Press, United Press International, CNN, USA Today, Washington Post put up, LA Times put up. There were alternatives. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and some other newspapers, and a lot of the non-mainstream press was very concerned. So why didn't we have that as provided by law? That is the question. And to get around it shows an effort to subvert the law in a, guess what? A conspiracy to cheat the election on the American public of its right to have confidence in the outcome of a national election. And that's what we're dealing with, and they're calling it this garbage that they're using propagandistic verbiage on. And they've got ignorant people who do not understand what the law is about, have no clue as to what the Electoral College is about, have absolutely no clue how Congress works, and they're yakking, he was trying to overthrow the government. 180 people overthrowing the United States government, which depends upon which census counts you take, either 316 million to 360 million people, and 180 are going to overthrow the government, where it is right in the middle of a series of United States Army bases, Marine Corps bases, Air Force bases, and naval bases. And that's going to overthrow the U.S. government. 180 people. Bullshit.
Well, Do you think that the Supreme Court will release its judgment? Is that what it is?
No, they might not. But you know what is?
Do you call it a judgment? What do you
No,
call
it's an opinion. But here's what the deal is.
Do you think it's going to be this week?
Okay, at stake is this. How many times did the United States government attempt to assassinate Fidel Castro? How many times did they attempt to assassinate an Al-Qaeda or an ISIS leader, or participate in complicity with Israel trying to get a Hamas leader, or Houthi leaders that are giving grief to the U.S. Navy? That is technically illegal under American law. But should the president be held accountable for this ongoing practice that has been the rule for the last 75 years in the United States of America, or should the president have immunity? See, the president has to make some calls. And what do you think the CIA does or the NSA does? Do you think they follow the law? Hell no. So are you supposed to allow a president to be prosecuted because he might, as executive in the interest of the defense of the United States government, order something that is civilly illegal? How about Obama ordering a resident, a natural-born citizen of the United States through Detroit, Michigan, assassinated? And I got a copy of the damn transcript. And in there, it's clear. The U.S. government says this supersedes the Constitution, and the judge is incredulous. Like, what? You mean, how did he get in the position of being able to dictate that somebody should suffer loss of life, liberty, or property without due process of law? No hearing. And you even admit he's committed no crimes under the laws of the United States. They enjoined Obama, specifically, a federal court did. He violated the injunction close to 60 days later that was still in effect, and he had the man assassinated. 4.5 hours later, he had the man's 16-year-old son assassinated by a drone, specifically violating the law. Now, do you want to bring his ass in?
I didn't realize I was muted. My last question on the Trump immunity case. You're a retired judge. You've been a judge for decades.
I went to UCLA and I didn't do badly there.
When will the Supreme Court issue an opinion before they go into their recess until next year?
If they're politically astute, they won't.
Oh, they'll wait until
traditionally
2024, 2025.
Traditionally, the United States Supreme Court waited until the issuance of an opinion would have little political effect on an up-and-coming election. They effed up by releasing the thing on Roe v. Wade right before the midterm elections.
Geez. We may go over 11 o'clock just a little bit, but just real quick, staying on the Supreme Court. Supreme Court takes up challenge to ban on gender affirming care. This came out today, this opinion. The justices on Monday agreed to take up a challenge to a Tennessee law that bans gender affirming care for transgender minors. The law bars treatments such as puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender patients under 18. The court will hear arguments in the case. The court will hear arguments in the case in the fall, with the decision likely by next summer. So they are saying that we will hear the opposition to this Tennessee law. That came out today.
That's my state, and I'm familiar with it. I'm a retired judge. Applied the law of this state. I have a sneaking suspicion the Supreme Court is going to sustain Tennessee. It'll be
sustain.
In other words, uphold state of Tennessee.
Okay.
In other words, see, the fact of the matter is as we discussed several weeks ago, when the American Medical Association, Psychiatric Institution, etc., Association of Psychiatrists, counselors, therapists, and all of this said this thing about the rainbow position on gender care was bullshit, and it was bad science, bad medicine, bad psychology, bad psychiatry, bad sociology. And no, this didn't need to happen. And as a matter of fact, within 4 years of making an initial decision, at least 75% of the people, children who grew into young adulthood, rescinded their opinions on this. So it is inappropriate to allow life-threatening circumstances to, therapies, life.
Yeah, it's not healthy for someone, 4 kids to do it. I want to move on from that.
They can't buy whiskey, they can't vote, but then you're supposed to be able to challenge when before you even understand.
Well, honestly, outside of the medical, the negative medical side effects is also taking away the rights of the parents.
Well,
now,
not only
that is a big deal too, because if in that bill, if in the opposition in whatever the opposition want to pass to allow minors to transition, I'm pretty sure they're going to indicate that parents cannot prohibit it. And if that is the case, for something like that to be accepted, then they're going to use that for other cases, which is going to restrict parental.
Let's get to the core issue besides the nice, nasty bullshit. It is totally inappropriate and against the principles and precepts of public health and safety and welfare to allow children to be mutilated based on somebody's cult outlook on life, particularly before the child is old enough to make decisions for him or herself. Mutilation of children is inappropriate under any circumstances, not just for gender affirming care. Mutilation is inappropriate for children. That is the real issue, aside from the bullshit phraseology that you get in the popular press. That's what it's about. Either chemical mutilation or physical surgical mutilation. It's inappropriate.
All right. I want to go back to Obama because I said I wanted to bring up Fast and Furious. So last week, last week we discussed it was the Trump immunity case with Eric Holden Thomas, and you went on to explain in details last week that Eric Holder should have prosecuted Obama, and you gave the reason why. And I took that clip and I uploaded it, and I got a lot of positive comments to whereas the audience want to hear more about things like that. And there was a couple of people that mentioned Fast and the Furious. So I said that I want to
Fast, Too Furious.
Let me finish. I said that I wanted to start bringing in little quick topics of things that happened in prior administration, and I kind of want to start with the Obama administration because these are things that people forgot about or was never aware about. So tell us about the Too Fast.
Very briefly, it's what it is this. The sixth
Fast and Furious, that's what it is.
Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah, what that's about is this. Article 6 of the Constitution says the supreme law of the United States shall consist of the Constitution, laws passed to effectuate the Constitution, and such treaties as have been ratified by the Senate. This actually was put in the Constitution 3 years before the Bill of Rights was passed. All right. So it predates the Bill of Rights. But what the plan was is to conspire, and it was a conspiracy, to officially break the law. In other words, through official channels, to give the appearance that there was arms smuggling, which was not. It was done at the behest of the U.S. government to generate support for a treaty with the Mexican government that Obama was sure would be ratified so they could curtail or suppress the Second Amendment to the Constitution, the right to keep and bear arms. So they were going to attack that constitutional amendment by dint of having a ratified treaty with Mexico, supposedly to deal with the concern of international trade in armaments coming from the United States to Mexico, when the truth of the matter is it goes the other way from South and Central America and Mexico through the drug cartels to trade heavy military grade weaponry along with the drugs on the black market of the United States. So without that particular nuance, they wanted to set this up, and that was what Too Fast, Too Furious was. It was a bogus, intentional operation, a clandestine one run by the U.S. government to give the appearance that there were arms smugglers from the United States into Mexico, and that Mexico and the United States were going to enter into a treaty where the United States would crack down on the manufacture, distribution, and sale of modern weapons to anybody and everybody in contravention of the Second Amendment. Now, the Second Amendment has been held for years to allow the citizenry to, in fact, have military-grade weapons. Now, the fact of the matter is you can't walk into a gun show or a gun store and buy a machine gun. That's lying bullshit. You have to apply, get a background check, and you have to pay a tax, a $200 tax to the feds. And that's supposed to be the regulation, but it is not supposed to keep fully automatic weapons out of the hands of civilians, because the whole Second Amendment is about the people being as well armed as the military or the official government agencies, so the government cannot overpower the citizenry and turn into an authoritarian mess. So to keep the government honest, you have checks and balances. You have the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive branches of the federal and state governments. You have state governments offsetting the federal government, and the federal government offsetting the state government. And you have the people who are as armed, or theoretically entitled to be as armed as the military. So no one small group of militarists can impose a dictatorship on the rest of the country, because the citizens can protect themselves. That's why the United States was unable to beat the people in Vietnam. That's why it was unable to defeat those people in Afghanistan, unable to defeat not Hussein's military, but the ordinary citizens in Iraq, who by their law all were entitled to be military grade armed. So the bottom line is you can ensure that if you try to impose a tyranny, a totalitarian government, the citizens can resort to guerrilla warfare that the United States invented in their war of 1775, 76 up through 1781 against the English successfully. So we invented that kind of thing, and that was embodied in the Second Amendment. So if it ever became necessary to repeat the justification of the Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events it becomes, et cetera, and that legitimizes the concept of, if it ever becomes that way again, then there is a legitimate call for the citizens to be able to oppose an authoritarian government. Now, that's the historical and philosophical basis behind what they were trying to undo with Too Fast, Too Furious. Yep. In the lecture. You will be tested on this next week. Please check your notes. You there? Hello?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Talk about Julian Assange. He was released today.
And which one is that?
I don't know. That guy, he's selling secrets. I don't know.
Oh yeah, spy stuff. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that people are interested in. By the way, that goes back to presidential immunity. What if, say, for example, the CIA in a briefing provided the president with information that his commander in chief, it would be imperative that he acted upon for the defense of the United States, and he okayed, say, somebody to take out a traitor, somebody who was providing evidence to, say, Russia or secrets, and there was another merchant of death. So that's technically not permitted under American law, but is he supposed to be allowed to be prosecuted because somebody discovers that, or is he supposed to have immunity as chief executive? And by the way, there's a great deal of discretion involved in this. We have a situation now where we don't have the opportunity to have a declared war. For example, the whole life spectrum of planet Earth might get exterminated if we've got a full all-out nuclear exchange. There couldn't be a worse war scenario than that. But there is absolutely no time when the missiles get launched, if they're from China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, or Israel, no telling where. Do you think the president can call a meeting for Congress while this 18 to 30-minute transit of these missiles from 9,000 miles away into outer space and then down is going on? No. He has to be able to call the war shot right there. So he's got authority now that has changed because of technology. Back when the Constitution was adopted, you had plenty of time to the speed of a sailing ship crossing the Atlantic, which was weeks at a time. You had all that opportunity to declare war. Now you have 15 minutes to 30 minutes. That's all the time you have. The president has to have the authority, without question, to go ahead and say, we launch, and press the red button using the code. So he's got a lot of discretion, a lot of judgment calls. So when you put the president in a position where he's got to answer to every judgment call against some biased jackass like Bragg or Letitia or Fanny somewhere in the United States who may be a complete asshole, that is not appropriate to have him answerable to somebody down, let's say, to make it obvious. Let's say there was a back county in Alabama that didn't like something the president did. They are going to have a U.S. attorney for their district. Do you think it is appropriate because that one person or some local state prosecutor who didn't like in some back county, Arkansas, is supposed to be able to indict, charge, and convict the president for something that other people might have said was an effective exercise of his discretion? Hell no, our government couldn't work that way. That's why that thing that came up, not with you, but with somebody was talking to me just today about the immunity from the consequence of things said during debate in Congress, either senator or representative. You're immune to such things. You cannot be arrested going to and from a session of Congress. That keeps some state from saying, or some backwoods sheriff from saying, I don't like this guy, I'm going to bust him and lock him up in my jail so he can't go to this vital meeting with this vital vote count that is going on in the House of Representatives in 2 days. I'm going to arrest him. See, all of this is to prevent the government from being stalled. So there is a reasonable call for the immunity of a chief executive.
You okay? I asked you about Julian Assange, and you went back to the immunity thing, but whatever.
Well, Assange, you know, that the thing I was talking about, it's relative to.
You just went all over the rainbow, but that's fine because I needed some airtime to something to fill
But
the
the
airtime.
point was back to what you wanted me to talk about.
No, I want to
What
move on to
happens if
something
the
else.
president had found out before this hit the fan that the man was acting in a treasonous fashion? and he had said, CIA, take this guy out. We cannot afford to have all of this stuff exposed at trial. Are you going to hold the president liable for that decision?
Right.
You see
So,
what I'm saying?
all right, I want to move on to, I want to go to the super chats, and then it's just like little quick fiery topics to touch on, and then that'll be it. But let me just say this real quick. Let me just say this. People, and I want to say this to my moderators, when you see a person like Greg, because I'm about to hide him from the channel, or anybody that comes into my chat saying that I'm rude or I'm being disrespectful to the judge, just hide them. Don't even time them out, just hide them. Because I'm not playing that game with anybody anymore. You're not going to tell me I'm rude, because I'm not. I'm not disrespectful to anybody that come here, and I'm not disrespectful to the judge. If I do cut him off, yes, because it's getting a little bit long-winded and we have to move on because this is a time issue. Yes, he does interject when I'm talking, and I have to say, let me finish or whatever. But so what? So anybody that says rude or whatever the case may be, just hide them, because I don't have time for it. I really don't. And I'm not here. I just don't have time for it, and I'm not going to deal with it. So just time they ask that, not time them out, just hide them from the channel completely. Thank you, Joe Dirt, for becoming a YouTube member. Felix, oh, you was correcting something. The policemen are very professional. She is not talking about the Georgia judge. Yeah. Politicians love that money from the corporate oligarchs. Yes, they do. Thank you, Kay Kofi, for the super sticker. Appreciate it. So a couple more things that I wanted to touch on. I want to share this. Excuse me. And also, by the way, I'm watching the Olympic trial, so that's why I muted and I took myself off the screen. It was the 800 meters where Mui Atkin, I know I'm probably saying her name wrong. She's from New Jersey. You bitches cheated, because the 800 distance, and then when they start running, they got to close in. They all bunch in or whatever so that they won't fall behind. They clipped her, and she fell, and she ended up being last. She went to the last 2 Olympics, gold medals, 2-time or 3-time gold medalists. And these bitches had to cheat tonight so that she won't be on an Olympics team. So you can have, I guess, 3 new faces. But guess what? When y'all go to the Olympics, you're not going to win a gold medal for the USA. So I just want to put that out there that, the 800, what do you call it?
800 meters.
For the women's, they fucking cheated tonight. I just want to throw that out there.
Do you think all of them got together and planned this?
Yes, yeah, because the top 3 that's going on, they were the ones surrounding her. So yeah.
There might be consolation in this. Somebody might fall out, or they might.
Everybody, real quick. I know everybody can't go, but you're talking about she's a 3-time gold medalist. She's the best in the world. I know. You're not familiar with this girl, with this woman. She was going to win tonight. This was the final to go to Paris. So they had to surround her to clip her. Sometimes people do get clipped, but this shit was intentional.
How many times has that occurred?
The clipping?
Yeah, that kind of thing in a
track. I don't know. But we talk about the Olympics. No, everybody can't go, and people are really desperate to go and they're hungry for it. But she was easily going to be the winner tonight and just easily go. She would have definitely been in the top 3, but she would have been the first one. She would have won the race tonight. She didn't. No, because she fell because she was clipped. You could see her on the video. So that's why I was off the screen for a minute.
Look at what happened with Lewis Hamilton and
same thing.
They cheated him out on that last lap when they had the safety car out. The safety car was supposed to lead everybody across the finish line. The jackass that was the race director, he bamboozled her.
That is her name. Athing or something. No, I think it's Mia, or maybe that is right. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, hardball.
All right, so I want to play this, and I want to get your thoughts. This is Fire Reactions.
Museum.
You can hear that?
I hear it. This is museum something.
Okay.
Museum in Fort Smith has a new exhibit for you to check out. It's all about the history of slavery within the Cherokee Nation. The exhibit features the stories and documents of what's called the Cherokee Freedmen, which is the name for descendants of black slaves who were owned by the Cherokee Nation. We talked with Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. about the importance of sharing and remembering this part of the tribe's history.
I think for the Cherokee Nation, we need to examine not only the triumphant parts of our history, and there are a lot of them, we need to explore the dark chapters, the consequences of our actions, and how we can achieve reconciliation.
Museum in Fort Smith has a new...
I'm just talking to
Arkansas. You ever been through Fort Smith?
No, but what I didn't realize I was muted, but I was saying they're talking about the Cherokee freedmen, or the black slaves that were enslaved by the Cherokee.
Okay, there were a significant number of slaves held in the Oklahoma Territory. Bass Reeves, the black marshal that is the basis for the Lone Ranger and Hi-Yo Silver and all that. Isaiah Washington had a very good rendition. I'm not that impressed by the one with the Brit guy playing it. He couldn't even ride a horse. But Isaiah Washington did a great rendition over a series on Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves had a Tonto, 2 Indians actually, who escorted him since it was Indian territory. So he was not a slave, but when he became a U.S. Marshal in the Oklahoma Territory, there were still slaves just being released by the Indian tribe in question. So that also goes to this thing with Juneteenth, June 19th of 1866, which is when most of the letters about the matter were dated. What winds up happening is the Cherokee Nation didn't free its slaves until somewhat later than that, through diplomatic efforts of the United States government. But so slaves weren't all freed. There were a significant number of them post June 19th, 1866. So it is what it is. It's all without historical basis of claim. It's just an expediency that has been foisted on black folk that I think personally is somewhat insulting, but that's me. But yeah, this is an interesting thing, and I already have gotten a reaction from black folks, some talking about they've no right to discuss black people. Well, why not? Black people discuss Chinese, Koreans, Vietnamese, Cambodian, those from Laos. We had somebody from
anyone, as long as you have as long as it's factual, you know. So yeah, like
it's bullshit. You know, we can't discuss the Egyptians. We can't discuss Rome, the Greeks. We can't discuss the Spanish, the Portuguese, or whatever. What we do. So why can't other people talk about us?
Mm-hmm. All right. So another thing that I want to play, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Let me know if you can hear this.
Reggie, the baton has been...
You heard that?
Reggie, the baton has something.
Yes. Okay.
Reggie, the baton has been passed for over a century. We've been talking earlier about if it wasn't for the Willie Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Reggie Jacksons, the 3 of us wouldn't have an opportunity to play. How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like history lesson right there.
That's a great history lesson. Reggie Jackson telling us all about it, preaching. Wow.
wanted to get your reaction to that, right? Because you know Reggie Jackson, you're familiar.
When he's talking about that, I was either in high school or at UCLA. So yeah, I remember it. I talked to the great Don Newcomb, who is the only American baseball player, white or black, to win every single pitching award there is to win. He, Roy Campanolo, who was a catcher, he was the pitcher, and Jackie Robinson were hired by the Dodgers at the same time, because Newcomb wasn't but 17 years old when the Dodgers hired him, and Campanolo had to prove himself as a catcher. They went to the minors while Jackie went straight up to the major leagues with the Dodgers. They talk about what they went through. They talk about, for example, the rifleman, blonde-haired, tall Chuck Connors was the rifleman. He spun a sawed-off Winchester around with a big cocking loop and did rapid fire with it. Well, he was Jackie Robinson's bodyguard. It started off, Newcomb was telling me this story, where Robinson was getting the ball thrown at him by some pitchers who wanted to beat him. Well, when the pitcher finally hit Jackie Robinson, Robinson started marching out to the mound, and he had zero tolerance, no temper, a bad temper with quick fuse. So rather than letting Jackie start a race incident in the middle of this Major League Baseball field, Chuck Connors ran out of the bullpen, popped the pitcher in the jaw and knocked him out cold, and got thrown out of the game. Didn't get prosecuted, just got thrown out of the game. So thereafter, for the rest of Jackie Robinson's career, whenever somebody ranked him out, Chuck Connors would go out and knock somebody out. So when you see blonde-haired, blue-eyed Chuck Connors in the old black and white 50s movies, the rifleman, give him some respect. He was the bodyguard for Jackie Robinson. This stuff happened. This kind of thing, I remember when what he was describing down there with Bull Connors was going on. I had a long discussion with a gentleman about Bull Connors, and he was there, and the descriptions were very interesting about what he did. I ran into some of these people over the years, one way or the other. And remember, 1966, 67, 68, that's when militancy hit. Black Panther Party, Black Student Union, Black Student Alliance. And we were firmly determined that this shit was not going to happen to us, that we would die before we allowed it. So a lot of us got shot, wounded, injured, sent to jail, put under the ground 6 feet down. And we did a lot of things in retaliation. A lot of people got hurt that we hurt. We weren't the only ones taking damage like the civil rights nonviolent folk were. Dick Gregory and I talked at great length about one encounter he had with Bull Connors. He said Connors rode his horse into this building where black people were sheltered, and he had his nightstick out, and he was beating his own deputies, saying, "You damn fools should have killed some of these ends when you had the damn chance before the goddamn press showed up." So they were treated to the spectacle of Connor beating his own white deputies with a long stick in retaliation for not shooting or beating more Negroes. So it's an
let me add this too, right? Just real quick. I appreciate when you share those stories. I appreciate Reggie Jackson, what it was like, because he was like, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And if it wasn't for his white counterparts, you know, friends or what have you, and that's why it's very important to have allies. You know, when we talk about reparations, yeah, we do need some white people to support, and there is some, but I don't want to get too far into that. I do want to say this though, where everything that man said and everything he went through and how vicious it was, same to you too, and your family and your parents. he still didn't use that as an excuse to run around here saying he's oppressed.
Yeah, hell with that. Goddamn being oppressed. I'm kicking some goddamn ass.
But he said, and that's what he said. He was like,
That's what
listen,
he
if it
was
wasn't for
saying.
them, I would have been
You
kicking
see
ass.
the
I would have been
difference in
strung up in the
attitude?
oak tree. And he knew it.
You see the difference in attitude rather than this white supremacy holding us down. We can't do nothing. And nobody alive today is putting up with this shit that you're talking about there. That was a reality.
Right.
See, that I told you, I was 5 years old. I'm riding with my mom and dad in their DeSoto. My mother is fishing in the glove compartment. She hands me her Coca-Cola bottle, those little short ones. And I got it balanced on my knee, holding on to it at the top so nothing spilled. Bullet goes through the side of the car and shatters the glass. I looked at the bullet, boom, went out that side. It said, hey, war. You know, I was fascinated by war. So my mother was cool. She said, baby, get out on the floorboard. These are big cars, you know, so you got out on the floorboard. And they were thick steel, but they went through the side door. They just didn't lead the target far enough, or they would have hit the old man. They missed him by about that much. One bullet came through the rear passenger door on the left, went out the right passenger door, and then the second two hit the trunk of the car. We had to get them repaired so we didn't get busted by somebody's highway patrol. And in those days, you simply could not travel on a highway in the South, which were just 2 lanes through these woods, very little lighting, no road lights. You had to drive at night because that was the only safe time. The local state police, highway patrol, and local yokels didn't go out. In these sundown towns where you did not go through them at sundown. And we started out a little early to get a jump on this stretch. So it wasn't quite sundown when we drove by this place, which is why the 3 shots came out. So you slept during the day and you drove at night. And during the day, if you couldn't find a colored motel, you pulled off in the bushes. You stopped some field hands, asked them where it was safe to park, and they'd tell you usually by some creek off in the woods. And those are those old time cars where everything was up high, so they could drive across that. That thing they had in, remember, Lovecraft Country?
Yes. Yeah.
That whole thing with that book, they called it the Green Book. It was by what was this oil company? They had a green dinosaur on the front, which is why they called it a Green Book. And it was 25 cents, I think, per copy. And whatever we drove, my old man, I think it went up to 50 cents. He would buy a copy, and it had a listing by town and location of all establishments that would deal with colored folk.
Publisher Victor H. Green, the Motorist and Tourist Guide, the Negro Motorist Green Book.
Yeah. And they had a notation that I remember reading, because I could always read, which I thought was interesting. It said, be aware. It was printed in block capitals. It said, be aware. Some of the addresses listed in this directory may no longer be safe because they have been taken over by those who do not want you. Remember that scene where they went in that cafe in...
Yeah.
And they said it's burnt, and they ran up out of there.
Yeah.
That would happen.
All right. It's something else I want to bring up. One last thing. And I just saw a couple of super chats, and then that's going to be it. I just want to
Sinclair Oil. That's it. Sinclair Oil.
Yes. Didn't say it on Sinclair, but I just Sinclair
Oil.
I don't see it on this one, but
that's fine. They had the green dinosaur, so yeah. Green.
I want to acknowledge South Africa. And I meant to talk about this 2 weeks ago, and I kept forgetting, even though I kind of had it on the list. I want to mention the Soweto uprising. It was in 1976. Over 20,000 Black students protested against apartheid in South Africa. It's a series. A series of demonstrations and protests led by Black school children in South Africa during apartheid that began on the morning of this June 16th of June 1976. I was actually born that year in October. And it lasted from 16th to the 18th of June 1976, minimum 176, with some estimates ranging up to 700 deaths, over 1,000 injured. And the victims, they were all students, right? I want to play this small little clip and then I'll have you.
And a little caveat here. At the time this occurred, I was running the public defender's office as a chief public defender in Memphis. So I remember when this happened. Some of the
Let me play the clip
Black lawyers,
and then you can talk. Let me play the clip.
okay, well,
Let
me explain something. I heard that
let me
when
just say his name real quick. 1 second. Let me just say his name. So this is an interview. He was a student leader during the uprising to Boho, TSIETSI, McDonald Mashinini, the most wanted man in South Africa at that time.
Yeah, we saw this. We arranged a special screening. The National Bar Association, that's the Black Bar Association, it was meaningful in those days. We got a hold of this footage. We played this. And we were somewhat disgusted because we, for the most part, were not nonviolent individuals and they were being nonviolent. But you seeing a damn good exposition or listening to it now. This is contemporaneous with 1976. And that's why we need the Second Amendment. We do not want to be disarmed as a people, nor do any people need to be disarmed, because there needs to be the ability of the citizenry to vest consequence for any treasonous behavior by the government that attempts to impose a totalitarian fascist form of government. Now, this was going on, and it is what it is. I had a long, in-depth discussion and looked over some other footage that wasn't available because I was conferencing with the next High King of the Zulu of Swaziland. He was one of Shaka Zulu's direct descendants. And he was going through a grad program at UCLA, and his brother, who was at that time prime minister for Swaziland, was going through a grad program at USC. So we discussed this at some length and time. Now, I found something very interesting about their perspective. The Zulu had conquered a good chunk of South Africa at the same time the white folk got there. They had a series of battles with the white folk. Cetsuwela was the High King then. He was the grandson of Shaka Zulu and great-grandson. And he defeated the English at Isandlwana in the same year, 1876, as George Armstrong Custer lost the good part of the 7th Cavalry to Chief Sitting Bull. Now, the interesting thing is Custer lost 420, maybe 430 men. The English lost almost 6,000 of their best troops to the Zulu, who slaughtered them, and they let 15 go so they could tell the tale to the Western world. Now, that's how badass these guys are. So some of these idiots running around talking about they don't want to have anything to do with anybody from a place like South Africa, you ought to listen to these brothers, because unlike us, they actually went through the changes of fighting the system, whether it was by nonviolence or by violence, because the Zulu were not subjugated. They signed a peace treaty which guaranteed them access and the rights to carry their own personal weapons, unlike the rest of the people. There was some discord as a historic basis because the Zulu thought it was unworthy to follow the instruction of people they considered their former slaves and subjects. So it is what it is. That's some of the unsung history.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring it up last week because last week, when between the 16th and the 18th. So I just want to acknowledge that we don't talk about too much international news, and I want to start incorporating that, but also want to highlight, things like this when we talk about uprising and oppression worldwide, particularly in the continent of Africa and South Africa. I do believe Black South Africans and Black Americans, we have so much in common because of the apartheid that took place there, and that the uprising, they actually took a page from the civil rights movement here, which had an influence on them. But either way, I wanted to highlight that next
Well,
time.
could I mention one further thing in the highlight process? 90% of the armed enforcement of apartheid was Black. Only 10% of the defense forces were white. 90% of the defense forces that imposed this apartheid condition were Black. Mahatma Gandhi, who had been a lawyer in the British Empire at the turn of the 20th century down there 70 years before, was a staunch supporter of the apartheid system because he considered Black Africans to be Kafirs, which is their South African term for nigger. So he looked at Black folk as Kafirs and second-class humans. And in matter of fact, there's some discourse he had that led to something that came out that I joked about. What three great apes come out of Africa? Chimps, gorillas, and Negroes. That's what he was postulating at one point, as did some early advocates for Darwin's survival of the fittest, which they got wrong. Three kinds of African great apes: chimps, gorillas, and Negroes. And the apes were able to mimic human behavior, especially the Negroes, who could even speak. So that was kind of the attitude that they had around the world toward Africans and those people of African descent, and that included the United States. And some of that is percolated down to today, where individuals look at Negroes, African descendants, as subhuman. Untermenschen, as Adolf and the Nazis would say, subhuman.
Okay. All right. Couple of super chats. Thank you, Big Elvis, the Chef Rosenberg. Thank you so much. Always supporting. Appreciate you. Felix, where is the video? I gotta see this video. Boxer Ryan Garcia was caught juicing or being on gear. I have no idea.
What are you talking about?
I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. Boxer Ryan Garcia. You're not even paying attention. Rolo, mind your business. I always pay attention. I got a lot going on. Stop worrying about me. Focus on listening to the judge. Cowboy Rob, Judge, do you still think there is systemic racism in America, or do you think that that's a bunch of BS?
Yes. The systemic racism comes from what I think is a source underappreciated by the woke crowd. And what that is
to which part of the question?
Yeah, there is a systemic racism, but it's not the way or reason that you think. Free people tend to look down on those who are not willing to fight for their freedom. See, every single group that is now currently in America has some historical reference or reputation as warriors, if not for the United States, from being in the place where they are. And the exception is the Negro, the Black, the African. Africa was not very proficient in resisting the European colonization, except in places like Kenya with Jomo Kenyatta and the Mau Mau. So you have Frelimo down in Mozambique. You have what happened in South Africa eventually by the pressure of things. Nelson Mandela becomes a prisoner serving life. Then he becomes president of the South African Union. So you get some changes. But over here, I used to hear this 50, 40 years ago all the time. Black people, the only people in the United States that have not had a fight directly against the United States in some form, shape, or fashion. And I heard people cite to me the Japanese, even if the American Japanese were loyal citizens, the Japanese Empire was some badasses. The Germans, loyal citizens of the United States. But we certainly had a worry about the Huns and then the Nazis. Okay, you have Italy. You can't talk about Italy without talking about ancient, mighty Rome. So the Roman legionnaires were famous. You talked about the Asians. You had anything, depending upon how you consider them, Attila the Hun, all the way to Genghis Khan and the Mongol hordes. You had all of this. You had recent situations in Korea where the American soldier ran into the Chinese army for the first time and got the hell scared out of him. So you have Native Americans. They name trains and places after Native Americans. And the only thing black folk have named after them is Martin Luther King Boulevard and Booker T. Washington School. And now dead junkie George Floyd anti-crime bill or something. Or the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill, and it wasn't a lynching as per Mrs. Till, or Emmett Till's mother, by the way. I talked to her at great length 30 years ago. Nor as per the family biographer who we're going to interview, Dr. Clenora Hudson Weems, who popularized what Emmett Till's death did to the American movement to effectuate civil rights. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. And the woke Negroes are all running around talking about they're oppressed and there's no hope. And white
Question.
holds them down.
Judge, what are your feelings about felons getting their guns back?
Depends upon what the felony was. If it's an infamous thing, no, they don't need them. Some of the stuff that I've represented people in, prosecuted people about, or presided over some pretty awful stuff. You don't want them armed because a lot of them are psychopaths. Now, just today, I went into a business to get something done to my pool. The guy is white guy, old white guy. He was just enthusiastic, ran up to me. I was wondering what his greeting was about. He was so enthused. And for those woke folk to claim it didn't happen, I'd given him 12 years in the penitentiary as a sentence, and he was glad I'd done it because it straightened him out from being a drug dealer to he owned this huge business that he was giving me a discount 31 years, 34, 33 years after the fact. So you see, all kinds of stuff gets done wrong and people get a chance to correct. He wasn't so bad. But there are some people that you do not want out on the streets. I wish you could keep them in for a longer period of time because there were some fiends. I think of one individual in particular.
We need to wrap up the show.
I will, but you got to hear about this guy. He was represented by the public defender's office. He was giving the women who were the assistant public defenders that were representing him great grief. There were 3 of them. They couldn't handle him. The judge called me in and asked me if I'd take this appointment. All right. And I wound up contacting his brother, who had a PhD, and the brother said he found out something was badly wrong with the defendant I was representing. This defendant did this to 4 women. One of them got 250 staples and 3,000 stitches because he cut her up. She survived. He cut her up in front of her 6-year-old son with a box cutter. He cut up another woman and she wound up getting an arm amputated. He sat there and did it in front of her 3 children. And while we were in court, he got this massive erection in these gray elastic top jail pants and had an orgasm, came all over himself when he was listening to the description of the injuries suffered by these 4 women. You don't want some son of a bitch like that out of jail. But he got out on parole eventually, which I thought he shouldn't have been. Found out about that later. And that kind of person, you definitely do not want armed. I don't want Dracula to get armed because he might be out on parole. It's somebody that I helped represent almost 35 years ago. This guy would go out.
No, not another story. We gotta go.
That's just a short one. You got to hear this one.
I'm not even listening to the first one.
Well, okay, the people are listening. They're fascinated.
No, why do we need to end?
Let me finish. That will take 15 seconds. Give me 15 seconds. Start counting. Dracula went out and would strip these young pine trees, take block and tackle, bend them over. He'd go kidnap female naval personnel, strip them naked after drugging them, rape them, tie them up, gag them, put the top of the tree in their vaginas or anuses, let the tree back up, and they would ease down. It would take them 9 to 15 hours to die as the piece of the tree worked up through and would go up through the roof of their mouth. That person will probably get out on parole, but you don't want him armed. So
Okay.
there are some bad people.
Right, we get the point. All right. Listen, you know what? If y'all want to hear the judge's stories, then you need to send me an email, more than 10 people requesting it. And then he needs to set time aside to record his judge stories. Because he's not going to come up here when we do the show Monday and Thursday and just talk about his judgment. We don't have time. We don't have the time. So send in the emails with your interest if you want him to do a separate video talking about his judge stories.
This is lawyer stories.
The lawyer judge, it don't matter. But the fact is that you will have to actually allocate time to do it. Don't shove it in these 2-hour shows and sit up here and tell me, well, I don't got time during the week, because he claimed he is so busy with his life outside of Monday and Thursday. I've had several discussions with him about do recordings pre-recorded, just you talking about whatever. He refuses to do it because he claimed he doesn't have time to. So don't get mad with me when I say we gotta go, because we do have to go. This is a 2-hour show and we're over 2 hours. So get on him and tell him.
By the way, it was longer than my story, but I get your point. Come on.
Yeah, you don't want to. The judge don't want to pre-record nothing outside of Monday, Thursday, Tuesday is X Space. You could probably do it on Tuesday, X Space, and then he does his show Friday. Other than that, he don't want to record nothing. He don't want to do nothing.
Yes, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday, I have a little time, but I consult with lawyers and other stuff and other judges on matters that they have that needs consultation.
Yeah, so
I'm busy. I get 60, 70 texts a day, some of which I answer. A lot of them I just delete.
So start out. Actually, I'll do a poll and listen, and then it's going to be up to him to say, okay, I'll record 30 minutes or 1 hour on Sunday or something, so.
Noblesse oblige. You have an interesting position. You have interesting obligations.
Yeah, he's booked and busy. Yeah, booked and busy. Yeah. All right. Say goodnight.
What now?
Well, first of all, what do you mean, Dana, please? You want what? You want the recordings? No, you could calm down. You stop being emotional.
I think they're asking you to please hold the poll.
I am. All right, say goodnight, Judge.
Be strong. Ain't nothing in the world worth having is easy to get. Unless you're damn lucky, and then your luck may turn to a disaster. So work hard.
Tomorrow.
Party hard.
Yeah, tomorrow X Space, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's open mic. So that's tomorrow on X at Judge Joe Brown TV. Join them tomorrow on X Space. And then we'll be back here on YouTube on Thursday for the debate night. All right, everybody. Listen, everybody that's sent in a donation.
You know, may I make one quick comment about it.
No, you
No,
cannot.
I mean, it's funny. You know what Trump ought to do? Is disregard a question, turn to Biden, and with the mic before they can cut it off, say, name your cabinet if you can remember them.
Funny. All right. Thank you, everybody that sent in a donation. Love you most of all. Everybody listening on X, love you guys. Everybody in this chat, i.e. the Love Room, love you. Love my moderators the best. And everybody listen, I appreciate everybody. Please like, please share, and please comment below. And we'll be on X tomorrow, 9 p.m. at The Real Dana and at Judge Joe Brown TV. And back here Thursday for debate night. All right, everybody.
It's July 4th coming up in 2 weeks. Now's the time to order your Judge Joe Brown barbecue products. You can get them on Amazon, and if you've got Prime, free shipping. Otherwise, Judge Joe Brown, JJB Barbecue, BBQ, JJBBBQ.com, and you can order it that way. Lots of stuff.
Good night, guys. Bye.